Hello and welcome to Comfort Dad Cooks. On today's show we'll be making spaghetti puttanesca. Now spaghetti puttanesca, there are so many stories about its origins. It's a robust Italian dish. Spaghetti, a delicious, spicy, flavorful tomato sauce, and many stories of its origins, I'm told. But it's a working person's dish, let's put it that way. What we're going to be using today is a variety of ingredients, super simple to make. You can use every ingredient from the can or its dried form if you need to, just a bit of fresh garlic, some fresh chilies. So what we're going to start with here is a good glug of olive oil in a medium heat pan. And then we are going to be using anchovies. Now the brand of anchovies I buy is this one, Agostin Reca. It's a very, very good brand of anchovy. Now I know what you're thinking, oh, he's putting anchovies in a dish, it must be awful. But you know, I think it's important to mention that I always encourage my kids to eat using their senses, not their intellect or their mind. Because sometimes we can have an aversion to a taste. I remember one of my kids had a real aversion to mushrooms. And then I put mushrooms inadvertently, on accident, maybe on purpose, in a chicken pot pie some years ago, and he had it and he was like, what have I been missing out on? So please try it with a little anchovy, and you will find that the anchovy just melts away and then adds a nice basis of umami flavor to the dish. Anchovies are so versatile, so I encourage you to use them and to try them. So get the oil warm, shouldn't necessarily be smoking. And then we're going to saute the anchovies in here. And what you will find is that they will just fade away. You want the anchovies in here to be really just a basis of flavour, as I've said, and that will then almost disappear. And that's what anchovies will do. They'll tend to disintegrate. You won't even know they're there. I've got 3½ cloves of minced garlic here. Again, not too hot. You do not want garlic to be overheated or really even start to toast. If your oil is getting a little hot, you can add another glug of olive oil. It's fine, it's olive oil, to cool things down a little. Then in here I'm going to put a couple of de-seeded, chopped serrano peppers. Now this dish is infinitely easy to adjust the heat of by simply changing what kind of pepper you want. If you don't like it too hot, add half a jalapeno. If you like it excessively spicy, you can move up to Scotch bonnet peppers. You can even go as far as adding ghost peppers if you really want to go crazy. I've got a teaspoon of minced capers, and then I've got half a can of chopped olives here, just regular black olives. This is quite a salty dish already because of the anchovies, so we don't want to necessarily add a very robust olive like a Kalamata, for example, unless you've rinsed it. We're going to then add in a full 28-ounce can of tomatoes, or tomatoes if you're cooking in England. And then we bring that to a gentle simmer. So, tomatoes. So what we're going to do here is just bring that to a gentle simmer. So in here we've lightly sauteed some anchovies. We've got garlic in there. We've added capers. We've added some chopped olives. What else did we put in there? Chilies. And we're going to add a little bit of crushed red pepper. A small amount, like just about a teaspoon, okay? And that goes in there. You can, if you wish, add a glass of red wine in here as well. And then we just bring that up to a simmer. This is the kind of dish that you can come in from a day at work, you can come in from a busy day shopping or doing something with the family, and you come in and you're like, oh, what should we have? And especially on a cold or damp winter's day, spaghetti puttanesca is such a nourishing, comforting, warming dish. So we are going to let that now just simmer here for about 5 or 10 minutes to let the flavors infuse together. So while we do that, we're going to put a pan of spaghetti on and get the spaghetti ready. So we'll be back shortly. Okay, so welcome back. I'm assuming you know how to cook spaghetti, but my daughter just pointed out to me that not everyone will know how to cook spaghetti. So what we have here is a pan of boiling water, and we bring that to a nice, what's called a rolling boil. Now we put a little bit of salt in there, a small amount of salt, and then we're going to take some spaghetti. You can use whole wheat spaghetti if you want. This is just durum wheat spaghetti. And for the 3 people I'm feeding for this dish, I sounded like Sean Connery then, rest his soul, I'm going to be taking about one like this around the hand. That'll feed about 1.5 people, so 2 of those, and we're just going to put that into the pan here. A lot of people get very flustered when they are cooking, but there's really no need to do that. If you find that the water is not quite at a boil, you don't have to worry about it. Or if you find that a pan starts to boil over or something, don't worry, it's okay. It's easy to stay calm when you're cooking. You have control of stuff. You can turn heat up, you can turn heat down, you can adjust cooking times. If you want to just come in and show everyone here, Sequoia, that we're bringing this back to a rolling boil. No need to stir spaghetti too much, because what will happen is that you'll start to break up the starch inside the spaghetti. Now, there's a question of whether or not you should be putting a lid on top of the pasta as it's cooking. And there's a simple rule to remember: rice covered, pasta uncovered. So the rice dishes will almost always have a cover on them. Paella is a slight exception to the rule. But even while you're cooking it, you can put a lid on it. But most rice dishes are going to have a lid on them, whereas most pasta dishes, apart from there's a couple that are really not so much, or more when you're finishing things off. But when you're actually cooking it, the pasta will not have a lid on top of it. So that's what we've got here. So if you could come back to the pan here, Sequoia, we've got the pasta coming back to a rolling boil. One quick stir to break apart the strands of spaghetti, and you leave the lid off, and we're going to set that to 8 minutes. The packet instructions are for 9 minutes, but with most pasta you want to set it just shy of the cooking time. Let it boil, put the extraction fan on if you need to, and then the way to test whether pasta's cooked is to test one strand of spaghetti. And the Italians say that it should be al dente. Al dente means to the tooth, dente, dentures. Al dente means to the tooth, and it should just have a bite. It shouldn't taste like porridge. It shouldn't be sticky and soppy, but it also shouldn't be snappy. So just to the tooth is the right way of testing it. And the other way you can test pasta is if you throw it against a wall. If you take a piece of spaghetti and you chuck it against something, it should stick, because the starches should just be there on the surface, and we will demonstrate that for you. So about 7 minutes from here, we'll come back, we'll test the spaghetti, and in the meantime, we'll go and see how the tomato sauce is doing. Okay, so while our pasta is cooking in the kitchen, we'll have a look how this is doing. Looks great. You can turn that down a little bit from there. These burners can seem extremely fierce in their heat, but cooking over an open flame is something I much prefer as a method of adding heat to a dish opposed to other methods. So this is looking good. Now at this stage, you can just taste it to see how we're doing. See whether it needs any more chilies. It's good. I'm going to put a little bit of pepper in there, just black pepper. But the spice level is fine for me. That's absolutely fine. So just stir that up. This should be a robust flavour. There shouldn't be subtle nuances of chili. We're not looking for something haute cuisine and very refined. We're looking for something here that if you'd been, out, or if you'd been working the streets, the story originally goes for spaghetti puttanesca, or if you'd been on a building site or digging a hole in a ditch or something, some sort of working physical labour. That would be where spaghetti puttanesca would be absolutely well suited. You've got your spaghetti, your carbs, you've got a nice, spicy, inexpensive sauce to add to that, and it's unctuous, it's delicious, it's satisfying, it's nutritious, it's comforting. So that's what we are looking for here with the spaghetti puttanesca. So we'll let that continue to slowly cook for about another 5 or so minutes, and then I'll show you how to plate it up and serve it. So thank you. Okay, so we're back, and let's just have a look here if the pasta's cooked. So we've reached our cooking time. Looks cooked. You can take a strand of spaghetti out of there. It looks cooked to me. Now, as I said, if you want to, you can taste it, but you can also throw it against the surface, and if it sticks on the surface, it's cooked. It's one way to test whether pasta is actually ready. So this is ready. Now we're going to drain this, and then we're going to proceed to the next step, which is to present it and serve it. So we'll be back with you in just a moment. Okay, so welcome back. So let's see what we have going on inside the pan. Perfect spaghetti puttanesca, perfect puttanesca sauce. Now what we want to do here is to take the spaghetti which we've cooked and drained and add that into here. Now, I lived in Italy for a little while, up in the north of Italy, near Como, and very, very beautiful place to live. And one thing that I remember when I lived there is how differently Italians serve pasta compared to almost everywhere in the world. Because for them, the pasta and the sauce should be cooked together so that the pasta clings to and coats the pasta in most dishes, whereas in the West what we tend to do is we have some limp pasta and not drained it properly, and you've got a bit of water there, and you throw some tomato sauce on, and it doesn't become really the amazing dish that things like spaghetti puttanesca or linguine. You can also use linguine puttanesca is very beautiful. So we let that cook for a little while. A bit more pasta here. There are a few tools in the kitchen which I particularly love. A good pair of tongs are very important, and also a good silicone spatula, or 10 or however many I have. So we cook that up, and then the pasta will start to become coated with that puttanesca sauce, and then it becomes unctuous and silky and delicious and just wonderful. So now we have that, what we can start to do is to plate this up. Plating up, of course, is such a joy because you eat with your eyes as much as with your sense of smell or sense of taste. And what we're going to do here is take a decent portion of spaghetti puttanesca here. A few more olives here. I know a couple of children who love their olives. Okay, so now we have the spaghetti puttanesca. If you're serving this to a dinner, always clean the rims of the plates. Now, inside this, what we are going to do is just move the pan so you can see. Now, there's a couple of ways to finish this, and the way that I like is to take a few chili flakes, just a handful, sprinkle those on top of the dish, then a nice shaving of fresh Parmesan cheese. I love these wide ribbon graters for this particular dish. And then, if you have a really nice extra virgin olive oil, a drizzle of olive oil on top. Now, what we have here is an absolutely fantastic meal, delicious, so easy to make, and it's also what I call a crowd pleaser meal. That if you were to serve this at a ball game, a party or anything, it's so easy to prepare, so easy to feed more and more people. You can double, triple, you can make this up to 30 or 40 people quite easily at home. And you can also keep it warm without it going too dry. So let's see how this tastes anyway. Spaghetti Puttanesca. The anticipation. Absolutely wonderful. That is so delicious. The spiciness of the peppers really comes through nicely. There's a very nice basis of flavour there that's brought together by the anchovies, the garlic, the capers add a nice sourness, a nice tart note, and the olives are very delicious in this dish. They complement it well. And then finished with a really good robust olive oil. You can really taste the phenols. The phenols in the olive oil are the things that do you good. They may also taste a bit peppery in your throat. Some Parmesan cheese, a few chili flakes. Absolutely a wonderful dish. Spaghetti Puttanesca. Please try it. And if you don't want to try it with spaghetti, I have made this with penne, and I've also made it with linguine. So thank you for joining Comfort Dad Cooks today, and bon appetit.